What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the AFC East Roundtable. TD Fans Talk checking in. Y'all get in the building. I'm going to give y'all, 30 seconds to come on in before we get started. I hope everybody's having a good day today. It is Monday. AFC East been signed out of the playoffs last week with the Bills loss, but we're going to talk about a few things. What's up, Dolphins State of Mind? Y'all hit the like button on the way in the building, and we're going to dive in to tonight's stream. All right. Oh, man. Now, listen, we are not having the 3 and Out show tonight. In the AFC's Roundtable SmackDown, we're pushing, from my understanding, to next week. We were going to cancel tonight, but I decided that I wanted to go live and hang out with Patriots fans, Bills fans, Jets fans, and Dolphin fans and talk football because I want to give my non-trolling AFC East State of the Union. Okay. Maybe I should change the title to that. Yeah, let me update it. Let me update it real time. Y'all hit that like button. I'm stalling to give people time to come in the building. All right. AFC East State of the Union. Of the Union. Real talk. All right, cool. We got that. So y'all punch that like button on your way in the building. Let your friends and family members know about the channel as well, because we're about to be at 13,500 subscribers. All right. We are about to be at 13,500 subscribers. So go ahead, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, AFC East Roundtable. All right. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dive in and I'm going to give my State of the Union for all 4 AFC East teams, my opinion on where they are, where they're going. And then we're going to open it up for a little Q&A, and then I'll get out of here. It's that simple. Just a nice little show talking about the division and then answering some questions from the chat. All right. So again, punch that like button on your way in. We can go ahead and get started. Let me see. 17 likes. Come on, man. Let's get the likes up. Let's get the likes up. Let's do it. We at least got to maintain half the likes because, haters travel too. All right, there we go. All right, we good. All right, so which team y'all want to start with first? Let me know in the chat. Which team do you want me to give my official State of the Union on first? Go ahead and put it in the chat. What up, Dirty Dan? Matter of fact, I'll just poll it up. All right, poll. Which team first? All right. Jets, Dolphins. All right, we'll dwindle it down. Bills and Patriots. All right, so I just started the poll. Y'all go ahead and let me know in the poll. Y'all give me a second. Yes, ma'am. All right, here we go. All right, so the poll is up. Man, it's closer than I thought. So y'all want me to get the Dolphins out the way? Which team first? Give y'all 30 more seconds, and then we'll start. 30 more seconds to fill out which team do you want me to give the real, honest opinion, current state on right now. All right, it looks like it's going to be pretty clear, the Miami Dolphins. So I'll knock my team out right away. All right, so let me close this poll. I'll end the poll, and then I'll put the next one up while I'm talking about the current one. Which team to discuss next? All right. We'll go Jets, Pats, Bills. All right. So I'll let y'all fill that out while I'm talking about the Dolphins. All right. So here's the current state of the Miami Dolphins. It's nerve-wracking. We're also in trouble because I personally don't feel like I can see a version of the Miami Dolphins that could have beat the Chiefs yesterday. Healthy, whatever you want to call it, I don't see a version that would have beat the Chiefs yesterday. We weren't banged up like this when we played the Chiefs the first time. And not only that, I don't see a version of the Miami Dolphins that would have even beaten Baltimore yesterday, as stupid as they were playing against that defense. We got a lot of questions that have to be answered this offseason, and it's going to be hard to make the roster better. We're talking about dealing with so many free agents and big name free agents. That's an issue. My bad. We got a lot of questions. Do we have a franchise quarterback? We don't know. It's unanswered. Will we be able to fix the O-line? No, you can't make it better. People say, how are you going to say you can't make the O-line better? Because you just signed Austin Jackson to a deal that gives him about $16 million per year. So he's a starter. You can't upgrade there. Your left guard, Robert Hunt, is a top 10 guard in the NFL. What are the odds that you can upgrade at that position? Already having a top 10 guy and you don't want to pay him, which means you want to find a guy cheaper. He's not going to be better than Robert Hunt, odds are. So how can you upgrade there? Connor Williams was the number 1 rated center in the entire NFL, and you're letting him enter free agency. So how can you be better there? You can't. You can upgrade the left guard position. But Teron Armstead still holding down the left tackle position. That's a disaster because you can't even rely on him to be consistent and not be injured. So people keep saying, and I keep seeing this narrative around here about the Miami Dolphins that fix the O-line. How? What are you talking about? How can you fix it? It absolutely makes no sense, the narrative. Fix the O-line. Does anybody saying fix the O-line have the solution? Can someone tell me how is that possible? What would you do to make it possible with the team that already doesn't have any money, doesn't have a lot of draft capital? Just somebody that's saying fix the O-line, tell me how. That's all I'm saying. So the O-line, you're going to have to go to war with less, if in the best case scenario, the same. And then you have a lot of people that might be disgruntled this offseason. Are you going to be able to sign Javon Holland to a long-term deal? Are you going to be able to sign guys like Christian Wilkins to a long-term deal? Are you going to be able to sign Jalen Phillips to a long-term deal? Are you picking up his 5th-year option? Or are you picking up Waddle's 5th-year option? And I see someone in the chat saying fix the O-line in-house with better coaching and training. Really? So we still have the issue that everybody blamed Brian Flores for not being able to fix? Flores is a bad coach because he couldn't fix the O-line, but now we're saying we need to fix it in-house with better coaching? It's crazy. We're sitting around here searching for a defensive coordinator now. Is there anyone out there better than Vic Fangio? And all these names that they keep bringing up, I'm like, no, man. They're trying to keep the same system. We want Vrabel, but does Vrabel want us? And it's not the same system. They're trying to find a coach that operates the same system, but I'm sorry, Miami Dolphins. Only Fangio knows how to run the system because everybody else that runs the system gets gashed by great quarterbacks. All the good quarterbacks destroyed the system. It doesn't matter. You tell me which quarterback was held down, which great quarterback was truly held down against this system. There were 8 coaches last year that ran this same defensive scheme because it was innovative, and all 8 of those coaches were on the bottom half or worst in defense in the NFL 2 years ago running it. Some would even argue, is it the system or is it the fact that you have all of this defensive talent more than many teams? What defensive talent? We had Jalen Phillips, we had Bradley Chubb, we had Christian Wilkins, Zach Zeeler, Van Ginkel, we had Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Javon Holland. That's 8 guys many defenses would love to have, but that's a lot of talent. Some defenses don't even have half that talent. So can we be successful next year defensively? New coach, new way of doing things? I don't know. And another thing, why are you looking for a coach that's trying to run Fangio's system when Fangio's system doesn't have traveling corners? Because you got to do your job. Traveling corners are more so for a man-covered scheme. So that's not Fangio's system. So it's a contradiction to why the players were disgruntled and you were also appeasing to the players to say, okay, let's just part ways if we can agree to be nicer. Doesn't make sense. And above all, ladies and gentlemen, the quarterback position. Will we pay Tua? It's sad that Jets fans, Patriots fans, Bills fans are like, please pay Tua. It'll be a huge win for us. Sad. We have a quarterback who, in my opinion, may be the 14th or 15th best quarterback in the NFL at this point. I'm not talking about statistically. I'm just talking about in general with abilities. Maybe the 15th best. Because our quarterback can't extend plays on a consistent basis when needed. Our quarterback can't throw outside the numbers consistently. Our quarterback doesn't have arm strength. Our quarterback doesn't process the field post-snap. And our quarterback struggles against teams that force him off of his first read. That's the state of the Miami Dolphins right now. Whole bunch of questions. And the team just won't be willing to do the wisest thing, many believe, but time will tell, which is move on from the quarterback, save some money, sign your young core, and move on from some of these veterans and keep this train moving. Because it is a shame that Green Bay is better prepared than us to compete. It is a shame that the Houston Texans are better prepared than us to compete. It is a shame that the Lions have been better prepared for us to compete than us to compete. It is a shame that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who leveraged everything with Tom Brady's era, are already competing in the playoffs post Tom Brady. It is a shame that the Rams are more equipped. Too many teams are in a better position than the Miami Dolphins. And it shouldn't even be that way because we have more talent than every team I just named. We have more talent than every team that I just named. It's a shame. So that's the state of the Miami Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. There's so much more I could say. But for the sake of making sure I cover all 4 teams in this stream, we're going to move on to the next team. And you all voted the Buffalo Bills. So let me put the poll up real quick. Next up, and I'm going to put Jets and Pats. And I'll tell you after I talk about the Bills where we are. We'll see which one we go with. Jets, Pats. Y'all vote on that. All right. Buffalo Bills. Obviously, this is from the outside looking in, but I do a lot of research. I do a lot of studying our division, so I feel very comfortable talking about this. But I know I'm not perfect as far as knowing all the nuances of the Buffalo Bills. So this is a perspective from the outside looking in, okay? The Bills, what do they need to do? Change up what's been going on with their franchise. The reality is for Buffalo, a lot of people may not see it this way, but you got to get better on defense. Oh, here, listen to this guy talk about we need to be better on defense. I mean, are you kidding me? Our defense is good. Yeah, they're good. You need great. You need borderline close to historic. You need to invest in a lockdown defense that only allows 16 to 18 points a game like Baltimore had. I'll say this. The Bills offense would have beaten the Chiefs if they had the Ravens defense yesterday. The offense isn't the issue. Although Josh Allen and his errors and things like that, it's not the real issue. As a matter of fact, I personally believe you need to cut back on offense. I feel like you need to continue to make sure your O-line is good and move on from Stephon Diggs and save yourself some money, and you can rotate that to the defensive side of the ball. I think that's all the Buffalo Bills need to do. Move on from Stephon Diggs, take those savings, shift it to the defense to make that unit even better, and move forward the way you are, and you'll see yourself in a situation like Baltimore or the Chiefs right now. You have to, because you don't need Stephon Diggs. He's a good receiver that you're using, but you don't need. Patrick Mahomes is trying to show everybody that you don't need the elite receiver. You have a young up-and-coming tight end in Dalton Kincaid, who, in my opinion, can be a great tight end if focused on more and utilized more. Put Diggs on the trade block, save yourself some money, and get an asset at the same time. Because when you look at the last game you played, Diggs was non-existent and you went toe-to-toe, pound for pound. You don't need him when you got Josh Allen doing what he's doing in the run game. You can still move the ball. Now, mind you, the deep threat wasn't there in that game, but you didn't need it. It would have been nice, But I think that type of stuff will develop over time anyway. Draft you a deep threat, speedy guy to take over for Diggs for 15 times less the money. And allow your offense to continue the way that it's been. But that defense has to get just slightly better, even though it's already great. That's where you need to invest. And I'm going to tell you the truth. There ain't that much to talk about when it comes to the Bills in that regard. There ain't much to talk about. I don't like your coach. I don't think he's a great coach, but he's a coach that's good enough to he's fine. He's not an elite coach in my opinion, but he's not a problem either. He's the type of coach you're fine with keeping long term, but he's not going to be the difference maker himself. So I don't have an issue with the coaching. But your issues are so simple. Start striving towards a historic defense. And it ain't going to be historic, but you see what I mean? Like a true lockdown defense. Not a defense that's really good that makes plays on occasions, but a truly lockdown defense. And keep the same offense and actually cut it down a little and you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. You'll be competing in that game yesterday. Now, again, here's what I want to say to people real quick, and I'll pause on the Bills analysis and say this. Getting to the AFC championship or NFC championship game is the standard, ladies and gentlemen. If you lose in that game, I got to be honest with you. Don't allow that to make you treat your team the same as a first or second round exit. It is not the same. If you're one of the top 4 teams in the NFL, don't forget that only one team can win. And all this talk out here that I'm hearing, just like with the Ravens and with the Lions, oh, they blew it. They're not good enough either. Do not make that be a situation where you feel like you need to revamp your whole team. Don't let that be the situation. Unless you have a quarterback who's been carried the entire way there. Like Jimmy G was carried all the way there, and his play showed up to be an issue in the big game. Don't make that a sad thing. Even though that's not your case, Buffalo, but you have been there. You have to keep on swinging at it. Now, if you were a first round exit every year, second round exit every year, now you got some second round exits, but you've also been to the third round. You've also been there. So you need to keep reconfiguring to try to figure it out. But if you are a first and second round exit every year, you got to figure out something else after a while. And I don't think that's the case for the Bills yet. Next year, if you don't get past the second round, it's official then. But it's not that time yet. So for people looking at Baltimore, oh, they need to do something drastic or whatever. No, they don't. No, they don't. Teams like Baltimore go get 1 or 2 more O-linemen and be smarter and run the ball more in a big game and just hope things work out better. And it still doesn't guarantee. It still doesn't guarantee This is why once you get to the championship round, I'm a firm believer in Super Bowl or bust. But from an evaluation of the team standpoint, when you get to the championship round, whatever happens, you shouldn't, unless you get blown out. That's a different story. But whatever happens, you should not make it a panic situation or be down on yourself. Two great teams, one of them got to lose. One of them got to lose. You'd be surprised if Baltimore and the Chiefs lined it up right now today again, Baltimore might win. The Chiefs might win again. You don't know, but that game right there, I can tell you now, if Baltimore had hindsight and they saw the result before the game and they knew that they had 4 personal fouls and tauntings and all of that, if they knew they lost and they had those, they wouldn't have done one of them. And the game might have been different. Because those things were choices. The fumble at the 1 yard line, that was taken by the Chiefs, stripped. So ain't nothing you can do about that. But that discipline stuff could be fixed easily because in large part that did hurt them. People forget that the Chiefs did not score a single point in the second half. The Baltimore Ravens had all the momentum in the second half, but they kept shooting themselves in the foot. Chiefs didn't score a point in the second half. People forget that. Baltimore had the momentum in the second half. Baltimore got to that 1 yard line and fumbled. Baltimore was blowing it in field goal range twice and got 15-yard penalties backing them out. So if you get to that point of an AFC championship, it does not mean that you need to do something drastic unless your quarterback was carried to that point the whole time. And the only example that I remember of that is Jimmy G. You can't even say that of Brock Purdy because that team was dead in the water and he actually had a moment of putting the team on his back yesterday. So Bills, y'all ain't got much to do. It's the simplest tweaks, but will you do it? Or will you oversimplify? Will you make more than what it is? Trade Stephon Diggs, take that money, put it on the defense to make it even better and more stout. And keep developing the receivers and stuff you have now and go in the draft and get a young, speedy, fast, stretch the field receiver to take over for Diggs. And I'm talking about a second, third round receiver, not even a first. And y'all will be just fine. Invest it all on the defense. Because if you look at what's been going on, Baltimore had a shutdown defense. The Chiefs had a shutdown defense. Them top 5 defense in the NFL this year, right? Buffalo up there too. But you see what it did. You see what happened in that game. Defense showed up. Chiefs broke through in the first half, got shut down in the second half. Baltimore got shut down in the first half. Second half, they broke through, but they were killing themselves. Lamar had felt like 50-something yards at halftime, but ended with 270-something. So they figured it out in the second half, but those penalties and everything was killing themselves and the turnovers. Killing themselves. And listen, I don't want to hear anything about injuries with no team, even Buffalo, because injuries happen. So when I say put money on the defense, put money on the defense so that when injuries do happen, you have a better level of depth. However you want to look at it, just put more money into the defense because the offense is set. And you don't even need Diggs. And I truly believe it. Go get you a young guy. Create a Diggs. You got the quarterback to do it. That's my thoughts on Buffalo. You ain't got much to do. Let's move forward to the Jets. since y'all voted the Jets to talk about next. I'm truly concerned about the Jets. Here's why. I personally feel like they're putting too much reliance on Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that's a good team for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think the Jets have a good team for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is truly with that team going to be able to compete against the best teams next year, especially if it comes down to the playoffs, if they make it. And let me continue to explain why. Great teams can still be productive and competitive and win games. Like we're talking about Super Bowl contending teams can still win more games than they lose without their quarterback. When you see what the Browns did this year, and let me say this, even before Flacco, because that's not act like Flacco made the difference. They were playoff bound and winning way more games than losses before Flacco. Flacco just came in and continued it. That's what would make me scared of the Jets if they were still able to at least give me 9 wins without Aaron Rodgers. You cannot tell me, and let me say this too, and maybe it's not the personnel because the Jets have a lot of talent, but it might just be the coaching. Browns had an elite defense that led the way for most part of the season. Ain't that supposed to be the bread and butter for the Jets? And Aaron Rodgers coming in to make the offense better to make it happen? So the way you perform without Rodgers didn't make me feel like you drop him in there and oh my gosh. It didn't. That's why I'm concerned about the Jets. Now, coming into next season, things could be totally different. I mean, they might hit the ground running and wow, look at yeah. You know, I'm just saying that I'm trying to be optimistic about the Jets and say that it's solid. But, you know, and maybe it is solid. He's just the defensive guy. But the team holistically, he's not it. That could very well be the case. That definitely could very well be the case. And the Jets got issues on the O-line. And you can't have Rodgers' older self running behind a bad O-line either. Your young core is getting a little older, so they're getting more experience. That's a good thing. But here's another concern I have for the Jets. The fair assessment shouldn't be the Jets Super Bowl right away. Success for the Jets should be divisional round. Win a playoff game with Aaron Rodgers. Go to the divisional round and lose. Why am I saying that? Because I'm not crazy. You got to look at all the other teams. Buffalo got to get past the next round. The Browns got to finally make their move and get to the next. You see how many teams need to win their first playoff game? Think about it. How many teams right now will be pressured to get out of the first round next year in the AFC? Dolphins, Browns, Jaguars. Houston can't go backwards. right? Buffalo, Jets, Baltimore. Only 4 teams can advance. Technically 3. One will have a bye. But only 3 teams can advance. Chargers need to make it. I don't know if I said the Bengals. So, and we already know obvious Chiefs and all of them, There's so many teams that will be on the hook next year of getting past the first round, let alone the second round. There's at least about 6 teams that need to elevate past that. So the Jets need at least one playoff win. And then hope Rodgers does that last year, that one more year after that, like he's saying that he might do. And that's the year where you got to get over the hump and make it to a Super Bowl. Like you just need one victory now, and then the next hump ain't AFC Championship because Rodgers' days are numbered. But it's actually getting over the hump and winning a Super Bowl. Like the Jets got 2 years to win a Super Bowl, and that's with the assumption that Rodgers will play 2 more years. That's it. And my issue with the Jets, another reason why I'm concerned, is because you can't expect them to just do it all next year. That's an unfair expectation. So that'll leave you to say both seasons are do or die of hitting at least the minimum threshold. In a loaded AFC with a whole bunch of teams that have a roster that is expected to perform at the highest level. I mean, I really want y'all to think about that. Think about how many teams it would be a utter embarrassment and disappointment for the franchise if they were to miss the playoffs. 7 teams get in, but let's count them. Kansas City Chiefs, embarrassing if you miss. Baltimore, Buffalo. Y'all help me go down the list. Dolphins, Jets, Browns. If the Steelers did it this year, they have to do it next year because they're going to get better. The Bengals, Chargers have to get to the playoffs. Texans, Jags. I'm at 11. There's more, probably 1 or 2 more. Patriots ain't a requirement. Patriots not a requirement. But I'm at 11 right now. Colts, give or take. It's not. I think 11. Raiders, I ain't tripping if they don't. Ain't nobody really tripping. We already did the Texans. So I think that's a good place to maybe stop for now. Let me just, no, the Titans, ain't nobody really tripping if they don't. Let me go back and look. Bills, Dolphins, Jets, Ravens, Browns, Pittsburgh, Bengals, Texans, Jags, Chiefs, Chargers. That's it, 11. Nobody tripping on Broncos because they were going to be without, they swapped the quarterback. They don't know what the future holds. So nobody tripping on that. So 11 out of the 16 teams. So the 5 that nobody probably will trip on is the Patriots, Colts, Tennessee, Raiders, Denver. Nobody will trip on. But 11 teams that they got to get it done. Because look at all 11. Buffalo missed the playoffs. They blowing it up. Miami missed the playoffs. Blowing it up. Jets missed the playoffs. blowing it up. Baltimore missed the playoffs. They may not blow it up, but they like, oh, they embarrassed. They down bad. They down bad. Cleveland missed the playoffs. They gotta live through it for another 2 years before they can blow it up. But that's bad. Pittsburgh missed the playoffs. They just gonna move on from Tomlin. Bengals missed the playoffs. They probably won't trip too bad, but they're gonna make some adjustments. Texans missed the playoffs. They won't trip too bad, but they're going backwards. Jags missed the playoffs. Blow it up. Kansas City, it is what it is. They'll figure it out because look at all the winning. So Andy Reid might retire. Chargers miss it. They need to, they blowing it up. Which is true too. A lot of people may not have great expectation, but fans do. First year Harbaugh and all of that, we'll see. So all of these teams have a lot on the line. A lot of these teams in pivotal parts of their franchise where it's do or die with the quarterback, the money, and all of those things. All of those things are factored. So everybody can't do it. Everybody can't win the first round in the playoffs because 5 of these teams are going to fail in the first round. 5 and not make it. Between not making it and getting out of the first round, 5 of these teams already going to be like, man. And the real goal is at least winning the second game. So when you look at it, 7 of these teams are going to end the season with disappointment. And only 4 of them aren't, depending on where they are. But at least they made it to the divisional round. At least they made it to the divisional round. Well, conference, my bad. So we'll see. 7 of these teams are going to be big time disappointed. And if anybody's team's one of those 7, if the Dolphins are one of those 7, it's bad. Now, the Dolphins are different because our fan base are so ridiculous that just one playoff win and we'll think that we're good, not realizing the roster ain't going to do nothing but get worse and worse over the next 2 to 3 years based off of money and capital. And players getting older, more injuries and all. People won't realize the Dolphins at a minimum, they got to go to they supposed to be competing for the AFC championship this year coming up. Worst case scenario, we were supposed to lose in the divisional round and we lost in the first round. Failure. So already behind. All right. But that's the Jets. Those are my concerns with the Jets overall, though. So much competition. We'll see how it works out. Now, moving on to the last one, the New England Patriots. They have a perceived bright future, man. It can't go down from here. It can't go down. They have a bright future ahead. Lucky them. What do I mean by that? Why am I saying that? The way they structured their contracts, they're not on the hook for pretty much almost nobody. That's why they read up Parker, Gesicki, and all of them. They just getting through. They now have a top 3 pick. They have draft capital. They have the second most money in the NFL. And they could create more if they wanted. They have a few core pieces that are still young. and they'll start fresh. They'll get their franchise quarterback and hope that he is one. And you really can't project out or do anything to gauge how they're going to be until you see the moves that they start to make this offseason. Who are they picking up in free agency? Who are they going to get in the draft? And then you start to put it together. Look at the roster that they have in year one of the rebuild. Because what they've been doing since Brady ain't a rebuild. They just been trying to survive. But now what they've done is set themselves up for the rebuild. So they have the highest upside, but we got to see, first of all, what picks they make and what signings they make. And then after we see what they do in that area, once the draft is over, we got to look at their roster. And then everything is hypothetical because we don't know how those young guys are going to look in the NFL. So it's just an evaluation season with the potential ability to what? Be the Houston Texans in year one? Or maybe not. Maybe be the Carolina Panthers. We don't know. And we won't know. But we got to keep an eye on every move they make and the decisions they make to see if they're strong or not, and then judge them as time goes. So the Patriots have no skin in the game, and they're just fine with it, which they should be. And the real issue in the AFC East is, are any of the other three teams going to allow them to come in and surpass them? And whoever gets surpassed will be the embarrassment of the division. Whether it's this year, next year, or the year after, whoever the Patriots surpass first, however it happens, whoever they surpass first is the team that you got to panic about. That just shame on them. Shame on them. And that's what it's going to be about. So outside of that, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you have any questions, put it in the chat right now. I'll answer a few before I get out of here. So right now, if you have any questions, put it in the chat and I'll answer it right now. Y'all punch that like button. 300 people watching. Y'all hit the like button for me. And listen, I'm not trolling any team. I just gave my raw, honest assessment. If you agree, great. If you don't agree, great. It's not to fight and argue with people and try to take a poop on any team. This is a raw, honest assessment that I just given of all four teams. I mean, you see what I did to my own team, so obviously. Breaking news, the Chargers are expected to hire Ravens personnel guy, director of player personnel, Joe Hortitz. It's going to be a dangerous AFC next year, period. Dangerous. It's just going to be dangerous, man. All right, let me read these questions. What QB you think the Pats getting? It depends if they moving up in the draft, because somebody's going to come up to try to make a move with Chicago. If Chicago keep Fields, obviously somebody's coming up to try to make a move. But they're going to try to do all they can to get Caleb Williams, I think. That's what I think the move is. And I like the move for him. I would not be opposed to it. Shout out to Yank. First donation of the show said, can Tua improve, or have we seen his peak? Well, we've actually seen him exceed his peak. What do you mean exceed your peak? Because there's certain players and units that have carried him this season. That's what you call exceeding someone's peak. Look at Jimmy G, for instance. Look at how what's the word I want to use? Look at how efficient he was in San Francisco. He was actually a really good quarterback in San Francisco, but just could never win the big games against the good teams in the biggest moments. He looked actually like a good starting quarterback in the NFL. He was just fine. High completion percentage, all of that stuff. And that's because the team around him carried him sometimes. So with Tua having Tyreek, having a great run game, having a great defense for the most part, it'll make a quarterback exceed their ceiling statistically. But we all got eyes. So what you saw last year, you ain't never going to see that again with Tua Tagovailoa. Teams have figured out the system and what they're trying to do. You'll never see what people need to understand. Last year's Tua was better than this year. He just played more games this year. Go look at the averages from last year. He would have had way more yards if he played all 17 games last year. More touchdowns and all. He regressed this year. You just can't see it because you're looking at the numbers for all games. You'll never see last year's version of Tua again. And next year, you know the crazy part about next year? Like last year, we had a whole bunch of trash teams he played. And then he got hurt down the stretch against some of the good teams too. But he played some good teams too, right? But we played more bad teams than good teams last year. This year, he played more good teams than bad teams. I mean, more bad teams than good teams, obviously. 11 below 500 teams, no, 12 actually, and 5 above 500 teams. Here's the crazier part about next year. You don't really have a lot of great teams on the schedule next year. But you have a whole bunch of teams that are right in the middle of good and not bad next year. At least as of right now. Of course, all that can change with new rosters and all that good stuff. But next year, we don't have a lot of bums and we don't have a lot of good teams. It's a large amount of right there in the fray, right in the middle there. So you're going to see them win some, lose. Like next year, I look at it, we might have a roller coaster. Good game, bad game. Not bad, but not good. Not good, but not bad. Solid, better than last week. Oh, what was that? You see, and it's going to be nerve-wracking because people are going to be like, hey, man, it's like they're going to be debating over the play every week when you look at the schedule. So a large part, you got to see what the ending schedule will be. What the ending schedule will be, okay? But I think he's exceeded his peak. TD, who would you like the Dolphins to draft in April? A offense or defense player first round? I hate this question because Chris Greer screwed us so much. It's so many positions that's justified in that first round. We need a left tackle of the future, which is very important. We need a left guard, but the left tackle is more important, even though we have a starter now, I feel like. We need a wide receiver that can take over for when Tyreek is gone in a year or two. We need a great tight end. You need another running back. Most of it ain't going to be here forever. A-Chain is one back. You can't go with that. You need another quarterback, potentially. You need a nose tackle to replace Christian Wilkins, possibly. You need another defensive end because you can never have enough. And he say he want to draft one every year in the first round. We'll see. We need a corner to replace Xavier Howard. We need a safety opposite Javon Holland. We need a real interior linebacker. What would I like us to do in the first round is trade the pick out and get multiple picks because we got so many needs and we need to swing the bat as much as we can to try to hit on something. I don't trust Greer taking that one pick at 21. I'd rather him get 2 2s and a 4 or something like that and bringing me 3 players and hopefully we hit on one and luck out and hit on 2. It's better than missing on 1. So I want him to trade the pick. That's where I'm at with it. Brook ain't a wasted pick, but we got to let time tell on that. We'll know this offseason if they bring Mostert back. Because look at it like this. If Brook is that dude, then why are you bringing Mostert back? You see what I'm saying? Is A-Chain and Mostert in Brook time and then go draft some late round picks again and keep them going. That's what it's supposed to be. Again, just my 2 cents. All right, I'll take one more question. Put your question in the chat. I'll take one more. First thing I see with the question mark on it. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me read. Let's see. Most of those okay, not that. Glenn, even though it's not a question, I'll read it. Mostert was signed for 2 years. Yeah, but that's not the point. You can save the money, move on from him now because it's not 2 years of guarantees. So move on from it, cut him, and start with your future if you believe Brooks is the guy. If you like Brooks. Save the money. All right. Whoa. That went by fast. Should Tua have a QB battle? It depends on what you call a battle. You can't fake a battle. You got to actually bring somebody in who's worthy of being a starter too. You can't bring in Mike White and talk about it's a QB battle. That was a backup battle. You can't bring in Jacoby Brissett, talk about battle. You can't bring in Teddy Bridgewater to talk about battle. Them guys could have been better and you wouldn't have started them. You got to bring in somebody that you could justify starting them based off of the contract, draft capital, and draft pick and skill. You got to bring in somebody who really can be that dude. And that's why I'm the person that says send a second round pick for Justin Fields. If you're going to send a second for Rosen, then it should be a no-brainer to send a second for Fields and see if you can get them to draft a quarterback in the first round. Now you talk about competition. Now you got somebody behind you waiting. If you slip, it's mine. You see what they did to Mariota in Tennessee? Put that fire to him with Tannehill. Tannehill ain't all that, but he'll challenge you. He could start. And what did he do? He came in and had one of the best statistical years a quarterback can have. In week 6, when Mariota got benched. That's what you're supposed to do. You rise to the occasion and get your job taken. And also, it makes you challenge Mike McDaniel. If you're the guy who can fix quarterbacks, then can Mike McDaniel make Fields a better passer? And now Mike McDaniel doesn't have to limit his playbook because Fields have the arm to get it outside the numbers and throw it further down the field. And don't tell me Fields injury prone. Look at what we just dealt with Tua. Now it's Fields' opportunity to see if he can stay healthy. I would bring Fields in the building and pick up his 5th-year option. Trade for Fields, pick up his 5th-year option. It's that simple. And now we see whoever performs the best. If Tua performs the best and earn it and has success, give him his long-term deal, trade Fields next season. If Fields takes him on, then now you can move on from Tua, trade him at the deadline if you have to, and sign Fields on a long-term deal. Or continue to monitor him because you got a whole nother year. That's bringing in competition, okay? Anyway, that's all I got for y'all, man. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Fins up no matter what. Shout out to all the Bills fans, Jets fans, Patriots fans. That's what I got for y'all tonight. But again, make sure you subscribe if you're new. We're about to hit that 13,500 threshold. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. I will see y'all later. All right. Peace. We are out. We'll see y'all Wednesday night.